Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Bright-Headed Publishing Audiobook Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. I am really excited because I have a wonderful nonfiction author with us today. She has written a wonderful book called Me, We Wins, and her name is Deanne Renard. Deanne was born and raised in New Orleans. And, instead of being a writer, actually the bulk of her career was in finance and accounting. She graduated from LSU, and she got her degree, and then she went and got her MBA from the University of New Orleans. Now, one of the cool things about this lady is she is founder of Destiny's Closet, which is a nonprofit to assist young ladies in preparing themselves for success in either work, school, or the community. She's also a certified NLP coach, as well as a CNLPCP coach, and she can explain to you what that is. But just know that she is somebody who helps people do things in their lives by helping you kind of get out of your own way. She has coaching sessions for either individuals or groups. And she has written this wonderful book that gives people great principles in order to kind of better themselves. She's been married for 25 years. She has 2 children. She still lives in New Orleans. I love her book. You guys, welcome to the book club, Deanne Renard. Deanne, thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Hi, Kelly. How are you? I am great. And it's so great to be here with you on this podcast. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I am so excited. Since I've started doing the podcast, I've talked to some really great authors, some great poets, some great fiction authors, and you have written this wonderful book that is nonfiction, that is what I consider to be more of a kind of a self-help kind of blueprint to kind of help you better yourself. And I think we're all looking for ways to better ourselves. And so I think your book is fabulous. I haven't had a chance to read the entire thing, but a lot of the chapters that I looked at definitely resonated with me. So thank you. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah.
So I would like to begin just by asking you some questions. So, kind of tell everybody, about you and maybe the journey to how this book came into being, especially since you have a finance accounting background. And now you're this great author of this great book. I'm interested in the journey of how we got there.
Oh, this journey. Actually, I would go walking in the park every day. With a girlfriend. And as we walk, we talk about everything. We talk about our relationships with our spouses, our children, our parents, people on the job, a relationship with everybody and everything, including ourselves and our relationship with God. And we talk and we talk and we talk as we walked and we walked. And it just came to me, it was as if, God asked me the question, so what's the common denominator with you in all these relationships? And it was me. I'm the common denominator. So it began to penetrate in my very being. Well, I am in the relationship with all these different people and with all my different issues. Could I be actually contributing to any of the issues that I'm having? So as I thought about it and prayed and talked to my girlfriend, it was, well, you know what? It is about me. And if I could take the time to get me together, then a better relationship is almost a byproduct of that. And that was just in my heart, and it just resonated such that we had a group of women that we would get together with from time to time. And in this group, we talk about ways to improve ourselves. And God began to put that on my heart to share in the group. So in the group, we began to talk about how whatever you're going through, what is the truth about you in that? And with that, I began to write about it, to prepare different aspects of me as a spouse, me as a parent, me as a coworker, employee, and just to understand what role my me played in it. It's really your true self, but my term for it is your me.
So when you were writing all of these things down, did you know it was going to be a book?
No, I did not. Since the group of women were interested in what I had to say, I began to write it down and share it with them. And after our little group session ended, I just kept feeling propelled to keep writing. So I continued to write, and there it was. It's like, this is a book. And here I am.
So when you said to yourself, okay, this is a book, then what did you do? I mean, it's a long way to go from this is a book to this is a published book. So yeah. What did you do?
I just pushed. I put it together as best I could, and then a commercial pops up on TV and says, "Oh, do you want to be an author? You can be an author and send your information to this company." And I said, "Well, okay, let's do it." And I did it. And once I got involved with the publishing company, it was on. And here we are.
So, did you become a coach after the book or before the book or during the book?
Actually, during the book, quite a bit. Some tell me that I was a coach anyway, before I wrote the book, but I didn't see it that way. So during the book, as I began to get these nuggets of aha moments, I talked to my friends, I talked to different people, and it would just come up, and I began to talk with them, coach them through various situations. So it's something that I do now without even thinking about it.
It's second nature to you.
It is. And then the training with the NLP just helped me be able to focus better on how to get others to realize their true potential and to reach their outcomes.
So when did the book become published?
The book was published in February
of this year.
Of
2020.
Of 2020.
And
it hit the market. It hit the market in February. It was submitted, and I was waiting for it to be done by December, but it took until February for it to actually hit the market.
So when you were compiling this book and deciding to publish, you really didn't know anything about the publishing industry, correct?
Not at all. I knew nothing about it.
And I find that very interesting because the more authors that I speak with, I find that we all have a common thread in a lot of us want to be published. We have something to say. We feel that it's good enough to be published, and then we're not really sure how to go about publishing it. And then if we do publish it, then how do we market it? And then how do you be successful? So a question that I have to you as an author before we jump into your book is, what does literary success look like for you?
Well, of course, the accomplishment of getting the book published. But in addition to that, the advertisement I found has been very difficult, especially with COVID and everything that's going on. But getting a publisher that's going to deliver on what you expect them to do, which is really not quite what happens. But getting that, you working it, you're not letting even the publisher stop you from delivering what you expect, what you see in your mind, and that may be a little argumentative at times, but nonetheless pushing to this is what I'm looking for. That's not it. Just staying on it that way, and then as you learn as to exactly what they won't do or don't do, how you can offset that by finding another way to get that done. So it's in your ball. It's in your court. You have to make it happen. Because even with the publisher, they are not. My experience has been that they are not going to do everything you would like them to do.
Well, I think most of us think a traditional publisher is going to come in, take your book, publish it, market it, promote it, and there's going to be nothing for you to do but go on book tour and sign, and cash checks. That's what I thought. So, it didn't turn out that way. There's a lot of marketing and promotion that you do as yourself as the author, especially if you even sometimes you go the publishing route, but it's like you self-published. Right?
Yeah,
so
it is. Because
you're doing all of the bulk of the work. So since you've been doing this and the book came out in February and you've been in this world of self-publishing, what's one of the most unethical practices you have seen within the industry?
Well, I think they just tend to mislead you. It's as if you write the book and we're going to make things happen. And that's really not how it works. Even down to the editing of your book. They edit to a degree, but you have to go behind their editing to make sure that in the edits, they didn't change the meaning of what you were trying to say. From an illustration standpoint, you try and show them, tell them what you're looking for. And for some reason for me, it didn't happen. So I had to go get my own illustration and say, this is what I want this to look like. So then they took that. So it's a lot of involvement. You cannot just hand it over and they take it. It does not work that way.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's one of the reasons why the podcast kind of came into being. And so I'm glad to have authors like yourself to come on and share your experience. So maybe we can help somebody else who's an aspiring author avoid those challenges and pitfalls. I wish somebody would have helped me along the way, but I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
And so learning has been a challenge.
It has been. I did speak with someone who had published her book. She self-published. Actually, two people had self-published. And they said that had they known what they know now, they would publish. So I hadn't really spoken with anyone who had gone through a publishing company. And so I said, okay, well, they think it's better if you go through a publishing company. So I did. Well, yes and no, to say that it's better. So from what they said, you make a lot of mistakes not knowing when you self-publish. But when you publish, you have to do a lot of double checking. You have to do a lot of rereading. You wind up reading your book 10, 12 times with the publisher, making sure that it is exactly how you want it. So it's a lot involved.
It is a lot involved. And so if somebody came to you today and said, I wrote this book, you're published, what do I do? What advice do you give them?
I would say, one, get your mind together so that this is going to be a task, a major task. It is going to be very time consuming of you. Writing the book, that's the art. That's the gift that you have. But the business of publishing the book, it's like you work in your business and you have to work it and work it and work it some more. So make sure that your head is right about that. Make sure that you read contracts that you're going to sign to make sure that it is actually doing what you think is doing, that is they're going to deliver, holding them accountable for what they say every step of the way, letting them know that if they don't deliver on what they say, I am definitely going to put the word out as to what you are doing or you did not do. Some of that is just a matter of telling them that, and then they do what they need to do, because I had to do that one time. But you have to be prepared to work.
Yeah. That
If you're
is good advice.
if you're thinking piece of cake, you're gonna be in for heartbreak and a hard time. So roll your sleeves up and get ready. Now the work begins.
Yeah, that is very true. And that is a great way for us to get into your book. And I love the title, Me, We Wins. It is available on Amazon. And all the links will be in the podcast description. So I'm so excited to kind of get into it and talk about it. So let's talk about your book, and we can start wherever you want to start, and maybe give the listeners a little background about your book, and so they kind of understand as we start to talk about it, kind of what the book is about. We know that it's nonfiction, but kind of give us a synopsis.
Well, it's spirit-based, and it's speaking to women in particular, because I believe that I can relate to a woman in these relationships because I am a woman. So, and I see so many women in pain, and just lacking the joy in their lives that they should have. So that's how this book came to be, based on some of my experiences, friends, people that acquaintances, just a number of folks that were around me, that I was able to see situations that they were going through. I'd like to read a little something from the beginning to give you an idea about the book, and if it's something that would apply to you. So can I read that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a letter to ladies, and it's saying, "Hello, ladies. Can we talk for a moment? Are you finding yourself involved with the same type of man, the wrong one, yet again? Or do you find yourself in the same arguments with your mate over and over again? Are you caught up on the job with the same confusion, gossip, and headaches? If not, what about your family continuing to argue and fight over nothing about everything? Are you tired of it yet? Oh, and by the way, when was the last time you talked to or heard from God? I found myself going through the same cycles, not understanding why, because I was doing all the things I believed to be right, but it still just wasn't working out. I experienced failed relationships, being overlooked on the job, and being let down by girlfriends. What was wrong with me? My level of self-esteem was such that I immediately blamed myself. It's ironic, however, because God did bring me back to me, my issues, my strengths, my successes, my hurts, my hopes and dreams, the real me." So if women can find themselves in here, what I just read, if you're saying, yes, you're going through the same old in relationships, be it personal or professional, then maybe it's time, not maybe, it is time for you to stop, step back, and take a look at yourself. And this is not to beat you up about anything you've done. It's just to open your eyes as to how you can be better and do better, and therefore get and demand better for yourself.
So I like that opening. I think a lot of people will be able to relate. I think one of the hardest things to do is to admit your faults and your problems and your issues. Sometimes it's very difficult to look in the mirror and admit the things that you need to change, although you know that they are there. So I think that is really important, and you have to be ready, right?
Oh, yes.
Ultimately, you have to be ready.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You need to be ready. But the thing about it is not to fear, because it's not that you have done something so wrong or so bad. It's just that how you do what you do is generally caused by your past experience. So in reading the book is to help you get through those past experiences and then understand how you can do it better to prevent self-hurt, to prevent others from taking advantage of you, to demand and command, respect.
So let's get into chapter 1, which is the me, we, wins. And so tell me about, the first chapter of the book and how the book starts off, and kind of where because I would imagine in chapter 1, are you kind of setting the foundation and really explaining to us about the me? And we're realizing that there's a lot of me's, right?
Yes. Well, because we're so complex. You can't say who me is or you're me in one word. So we are multi-talented. We have so many facets that make us up, that there's a lot of me in there. But let me tell you this. Me, if I were to walk up to you today and say, who are you? What would your answer be? It makes you stop and say, well, who am I? You could say, I teach school. I have children. But who are you? The true you inside. Who is that? And to take the time to actually figure that out, because we are so busy being mom, being wife, being employee, employer, mother, I say mother, but child to parents, aunts, all the different roles that we play. So there's a whole lot of hats that we put on. But inside, who is that person? Not the one who's necessarily meeting the needs of everybody that they interact with. Who is that true you, that true self? When was the last time you saw her or talked to her? Who is she? So
wow, that's you just made me think, because when you first asked the question, I had many answers pop into my head of who I was, but then they were all the things that you said, mother, employee. So then I thought, well, okay, that's really not me, is it? So right. It makes you think, because I think that's what most people think, where I'm an employee, or I'm a musician, or I'm an author, but you're more than that. I think it's a little deeper than that.
You're a whole lot more than that. And the thing is, many of us have pushed her aside for so long, we've lost touch with who that is. We need to get reacquainted or rediscover the true you, your me. And that is something that just takes for you to stop and actually devote some time to just you. Start with, well, what do you want? What do you want to help you figure out who you are? What do you want? And when you ask that, and I'm not talking about what do you want? You want to go to the movies today. You feel like going shopping today. What do you want out of life? What does that look like to you? To begin to understand what's important to you. Because then knowing what's important to you can help you get closer to who you are. But it's deeper than what's important to you, because what's important to us changes. Today, this is important. Tomorrow, that's important. So taking that time to really know who you are, the true me, requires something. And I have in the book, we talk about it, and we have a workbook that goes with this book. It's inside the same book, and it drives questions to help you discover who you really are, the true you.
So in the book, when you talk about the workbook, and we're just looking at chapter 1, when you talk about who you are, what do you want, do you give techniques on kind of how to start thinking like that? Because I think most of us don't necessarily take the time to really figure that out. So what are some techniques that will help me, really kind of figure out, like, how do I get there? Do I meditate? Do I write things down? What do I do? How do I start to figure out who I am?
Well, in the workbook, there's some questions that you have to answer. Some things that you have to do. For instance, you have to describe you, and then you we're going to describe me. So things like, are you shy? Are you fearful? We want to pull up these emotions and understand from that point. So I'm asking you in here, just describe who you are and describe who that me is that you don't tend to let out that often. Whether she's angry, whether she's just hurt and timid, because you see, due to our circumstances in life, we've built this chick that's you that shows up to defend us, to protect us. So we don't get to see the me because you is showing up, because she remembers that when the me was hurt, girlfriend had to show up for us to protect us. So she showed up with a tough exterior to act like, no, what you say doesn't bother me, but inside you're breaking. So that you has shown up for so long that me has been kicking it in the back saying, okay, I do want to come out. Sometimes I do need to come out. And here's the thing, we need your me to come out because you are uniquely and you're specially made. There's only one of each person. God made us so that there's only one. So, and he doesn't waste his time. So he made one special me in there for the world. So since he made that one special me in you for the world, we need to see who she is. She has a purpose. She has a reason for being here. She's special. So we need that me to show up because there's nobody else like you. So
wow,
you to the side. Come on, me. I want to get to know you.
Wow, and that's a good place to start. I think when we can start to try to figure out who we are, and then you can start to really see changes. I think when you start to think along those lines, I don't think most people think along those lines. And so in going through the book, I know that one of the chapters that you wanted to talk about is me as a spouse, which I find very interesting because I was a spouse. I am no longer a spouse, but I was. And I tried to be a good spouse, but marriage is work. I have learned this. Marriage is work. Ooh. So, give me some, I'm excited to hear about, chapter 5, and let's dive a little bit more into it and tell me about what me as a spouse and evaluating marriage.
Marriage is such a major undertaking that we are so unprepared for. We go to school to be doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs, but there's no school for marriage. There is no training course to actually teach you how to be married. There's no one really in place in most lives to even to tell you what you need to be looking for or considering in a mate. But then again, how can you choose the appropriate mate until you know your true me?
Yeah, I have to agree.
It is almost impossible because remember, you don't know your true me, or she hasn't shown up on the scene in so long. But the person you're marrying, they're no different. They don't know that me either. So this principle is not just for women, it's for men as well. We all have our issues. So we come into this union with all of this baggage that has nothing to do with the other person. We show up with a lot of junk. They show up with a lot of junk. And nobody knows how it got there. It's just here. And then we're trying, that you person is trying to figure it out because me hasn't really surfaced. And now you want that to work. That's a very difficult situation to be in. And that's where we all come into it, because we rarely is a person truly self-aware. Especially
that is
young.
True.
We get married young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I read in the book that I thought was really interesting that made me think is you had talked about like you and this person get married, and the spouse works just for the sake of the marriage. I'll get a job and work because
Mhm.
you tell me to or whatever. But then after you're married, they stop working without cause because they really didn't want to work in the first place, right?
That's
But
right.
but now this situation is going to cause other problems, and it almost cascades or escalates, I should say, or turns into other things, right?
Right.
And so I like that, because how do you go into your marriage knowing that you're ready, right? Knowing, number one, that you're ready, knowing two, that they're ready, and knowing that the me and you, or the me and me, is
Mm-hmm.
really showing up as the person who's getting married. Does that
Right.
question make sense?
It does. It does. And we put on a good front. We put our best forward when we're dating. You show up all dude, made up and beautiful, and it's yes and smiles and giggles. And that's happening on both sides. And that's all fine and dandy. But then you have to, when you're to the point where you want to have some type of commitment, we need to have a real conversation. What do you want? Not just in marriage, but in your life. What do you want in your life? Because if you know what you want in your life, and I know what I want in my life, now we can see how we can merge these two things together. But if I don't know, I have no clue as to what I need to do, because I don't know where I want to go. We should actually sit down and say, this is what I'm looking for to. I want these things. And when you list those things out, then it's okay, that's what you say you want, but are you willing to work for them? Do you know what that really means? Are we agreeing that we're going to make these sacrifices together to get the things that we want? So as the example that you pulled out, if they sat down and said, okay, we want this house and we want these cars, and we're going to work and we're going to save up our money for the house that we want, and to be able to go on vacation, and you're like, okay, and then you up and quit your job. So the plans you had in place, it's going to be all on one person to deliver that. So you've already put a barrier between you and the other spouse, because we said we were going to do this together, and now I'm in this all by myself. And that is so unfair and can be so hard on the relationship, because I have hopes and dreams, and now I don't feel like you're working with me. We're not together
Right.
as a team. So for you to go along with what the mate wants, and you really don't want that, you need to stop and have that conversation so you can be up forward and honest. And if that's the case, and if this person is still a person you want to marry, and they still want to marry you, even though you don't want to work, then my goals are going to be different. That we're not going to go for the 4,000 square foot home. We're going to go for the 1,500 and be okay with that. If that person can't be okay with that, then is this the right person for you? And I use the
Yes.
house, but
And sometimes that's a tough question. I think sometimes you don't ask the question because you don't want to know the answer. So sometimes I think that happens. I also believe, like with what you're saying, being able to really sit down and have those conversations. And because, as people would say, when you're dating, you're not dating the real person, you're dating their representative,
yeah,
right?
you,
And
you.
they're right, you're dating their representative, and so they're always on their best behavior. And so but you have to be willing to have those conversations. And so communication, I would imagine, is key even in talking to yourself and trying to determine who you are. Communication is key, not only with yourself, but with this person who is going to be your spouse. I would hope that nobody gets married with the idea of getting divorced. You get married because you want to be in a union with this person, but I know from personal experience, marriage is work, but I did not know that until I was in it.
Mm-hmm. And everybody should know that. This is going to be work. This is not get mad and you go to your house and I go to mine. We home. Now what we're going to do? This is it. This is it. So you really need to have these conversations and be honest. And the other thing is be watchful. A person can tell you, oh yes, I want a house, I want a house, I want a house. And you ask them, what kind of house do you want? And if they, oh, whatever you want, babe, whatever you want. No, what kind of house do you want? Because you're listening for how much thought he's really given to him wanting that house. If he wants that house, he's envisioned it in some manner. So he should be able to tell you, I want a 2-story home. I want it to have 3 bedrooms. I want a pool in the backyard or not a pool in the backyard. Or I want to live in a condo. There should be some meat to what the person is saying. And if not, they haven't given that any real thought. And to put it on me, that's not okay. It's not, you know what you want and I know what I want. So anytime a person tells you something, you look for the actions behind that to support what he said. If his actions is not supporting it, then you don't know that to be true.
Ooh, that is so important. Say that again.
Say
that one more time.
If his actions is not supporting his words, then you don't know his words to be true. So, and that's with male or female. When you say something, then pay attention to if you're doing what you said, because your word is very important. And if you are not doing what you said, then you yourself can't believe what you're saying.
That is so true. So, another thing I liked in the book was chapter 6, Me and My God, and learning how to relate to God. And I think for most people, the word God, it's been used so much, it can sometimes bring the wrong image or connotation to what you're really trying to convey. The word God means a lot of things to a lot of different people. However, I think that when I think of God, I think of just relating to me and myself and the relationship that I have with a higher power. There's something more that's bigger than me. Absolutely. Right? And so I think that chapter was really important. And so, I'm wanting to hear more from you about chapter 6 and how you talk about how the me and my God and how those things come together.
For me, I used to think that the only way to have a true, meaningful relationship with God was in the formal position of on your knees and quiet room and praying and, praying to God. And sometimes we just are not afforded that opportunity, at least not all of the time. So I realized that God just wants to have a conversation with me from time to time. He's not trying to manipulate. He's not trying to monopolize all my time. He just wants to have the conversation. And prayer is just that. It's a conversation between me and my God. It's me speaking how I feel, what I want to help me with whatever I need. And this could be driving in a car. This could be sitting at a table. It could be anywhere at any moment when you have this conversation. Now, for me to hear back from God, see, I think we get a little confused because we do a lot of talking when we say we have a conversation with God. We don't stop and listen. So Who wants to be in a one-sided conversation? All you do is talk, talk, talk. What about my turn, right? So for that, it's really great if you're on your way to work, you're in the car, you speak that morning to him, watching over you for the day, whatever task you may have, and then you have some quiet time in that car and just be quiet and hear. If you're a person who likes to meditate, great time to have that conversation and be still and communicate. God will meet you where you are, wherever you are. If it's a quickie, I need help right now. I don't have time for the whole ceremonial procedure. I need help right now. Hey, he's your friend. I believe God is my friend. He is my savior. He is my waymaker. He is my help. He is my peace, joy. He's all of those things. So I can talk to my God very comfortably. I can just talk. And when you do that, you'll find that he's listening. When I told you we walked in the park, how this all got started, we walking in the park and we're talking, and God would drop something in my heart. So God speaks to each of us in our own way. I'm a person that feels. I'm sensitive, so I can feel something, and I know that's God. My girlfriend, she hears. She can hear. She'll hear things in her mind and say, "Oh, that's my God. That's God speaking to me." So it's different, and you just have to start the conversation. Be quiet for a few minutes, and then you'll begin to develop a relationship.
That is so beautiful. And it's important to, I think, to give yourself the opportunity to have that relationship with God. The world is so chaotic right now that sometimes we forget that those quiet moments. I am one who meditates. So my thing is meditation, and that's when I have my quiet moments and my conversations. And then I just look for signs throughout the day. Things will happen that I don't expect to happen, especially when I'm asking for help. And so it comes in very different ways, and it never comes the way that I want it to come, but I've learned over time to accept it. And I think the most important thing when you actually have that relationship is that you know that when things look negative or you get no's, right? No, we don't want to publish your book. No, you're not this. That's actually God's way of redirecting you to something probably better. You just can't see it yet. And I have learned this over time.
Yes.
And so but it took me a long time to get there because I can be an incredibly impatient person. And I think I know best. And I have learned that I necessarily do not know best.
That's right. Well, and then God doesn't always say yes. Sometimes he says no. And that no is because he knows what's coming down the road. We don't. And this is better. Wait, or we're not ready. You don't give your car keys to your 10-year-old. They're not ready. It doesn't matter how much he screams and hollers and say, "I want to drive." You know better. So it's the same thing with God. He knows better, and we just have to trust and believe.
Yeah, chapter 6, I'm guessing is a great chapter. I also had the opportunity to look at chapter 8, which is called Listening to Me, which is really important because I think we talked about it and we touched on it earlier in our conversation about really listening to yourself and allowing yourself to be okay with whatever emotion that you're feeling. That was a big one for me. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be irritated. It's okay for these things. And sometimes I don't think we give ourselves permission to be okay with that. What are your thoughts? And tell me more about chapter 8.
That's absolutely correct. We do not listen to our me. We are too busy listening to friends, asking them what to do, running, asking somebody else what to do instead of sitting with ourselves and say, "I'm angry." So what are you angry about? And understand from there what that means. And it's okay to be angry. Every emotion that we have, Jesus had it when he was here. So it's okay. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. Whatever you're feeling, that is okay. You sit with it and you understand what it is. And then as you begin to mature, you realize, okay, this makes me angry. And then understand what about that makes you angry. And you can get to the point where it no longer makes you angry because you've grown above that. Or you get to the point where I will avoid those situations to avoid being angry. So we need to be okay with it and not suppress those feelings, because as women, we tend to suppress our feelings and move on. Sit with it, understand it, and control it, because we do so many things out of anger, not controlling that anger. We say things we shouldn't say. We do things we shouldn't do. We go places we shouldn't go because we're angry. And then we have to regret that what we did. So if we can just, I'm angry, give me a minute. Give me a minute. And then you can go and you can deal with that, pull yourself together and understand what's making you angry and decide what you want to do about it. And I just use anger, but it's all of the emotions.
Yeah, I think that sometimes we are all guilty of not allowing ourselves to just have whatever emotion that we're having at the time, and then and being able to give yourself a moment to work through the anger or the frustration or even the fear. Especially again with the world that we live in today and all the unknowns. I think a lot of us just try to keep it going and ignore a lot of the things and not taking those moments to, it's okay to be afraid because we don't know what's going to happen, and it's okay. It's okay. Right. And having those moments with yourself. And so I love that. I really like chapter 8. I'm really liking your book because it's so important to take a moment with these things that you're talking about, and that they're making me think now as we talk about them. So chapter 10 made me laugh because it's called Me, My Truth in Dating, as you called it. And so that made me laugh, of somebody who's no longer married. And one day I hope we'll date again. Dating scares me to death. Just because it's been so long, and I always feel like when you're dating, like we were talking about, putting on airs or not really being you, or meeting a representative, and you have to jump through all these hoops. So kind of give me some insight with your book and the me and the dating.
My biggest advice would be to be yourself. Be yourself. Be who you are. It will be less stressful for you. It will be more truthful with the person that you're dating. I'm not saying, go out and don't fix up, do your hair and smell good and look pretty. I'm talking about allow your true personality to come out, your true thoughts, the things that you value. And it doesn't have to align with who the person you're dating is. They don't need to be the same. You don't need to be in agreement with everything that he says or does or wants. You are an individual. And I find and have found in talking to men, they respect that more. They want to know you, the real you. And then you can begin to get some real footing. Now, granted, even though you do this, that person may not do that. But as you've gone through the book, by this stage in the book, you've also learned some wisdom. As we talked about, that's what they say, let me see what he does. So you're observing, you're watching to see who this person really is, apart from what he's saying. So you get a chance to try and figure out really who he is as you present who you are, the true you, and then enjoy it. dating is just that. It's just a date. It's just out for fun. It's out to have a nice time. Everyone you date doesn't have to be someone that, oh, I'm going to marry him. We rush into an engagement period. We date, oh, my boyfriend, and then we engage, and then we marry. But you don't establish a friendship with the person that you're dating. That's your friend. I mean, a real friend, someone you can be vulnerable with, who can be vulnerable with you, who you guys are there for one another and support. And then you move into the lovey-dovey situation. So dating, take your time. Go slow. See who he really is. Let him see who you are and enjoy that time. Because see, once you get married, it's going to be real work. So enjoy, right? Yes, enjoy this time together and help minimize some of that work. Because we're talking about what I really want. What does he really want? What are the commonalities that we have there together? And enjoy it. And what's different? Oh, that's different. I never tried that. Try something new. And the same with him. Just relax. Just relax and be truthful. Be truthful for your sake. Because then when you get into a marriage, now it's not just having fun, it's business. Right? It is business. What are you bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? So it's a whole lot more. But the biggest advice I can give is open your eyes and pay attention to what he's doing, not just what he's saying. And it doesn't matter how fine he is, how good looking he is, how attracted you are to him. Pay attention. Eyes wide open.
So I know that dating, can be really hard in today's world. What about somebody who is older and dating, and maybe not as secure, or maybe a little insecure because they're older and dating? How do you talk to yourself through that?
I believe one good practice is to begin to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. I love you. And as simple as that is, there are some people who cannot do it. You have to love you before someone else can really love you. So own it. If you have to tell yourself that every day, at least once a day, I love you. I love you. I love me. Because see, that means then you're worth loving. And if you're worth loving, then what the problem is, as they say, there is no
right.
Loving. I'm worth loving. I know I'm worth loving, and I love me. So why wouldn't someone else love you? Sure, you're a good thing. You're a good catch. So that to build your confidence.
Yeah.
To build your confidence, because that is an attraction to men. A confident woman, because she walks in the room, as the song says, like a boss. She's confident in who she is. She's confident by herself because she loves herself. She loves her me. And we deserve everything and then some.
I like it. Yes. So the last chapter that we're going to discuss is chapter 13, Me and the Self-Sabotager. And I am guilty of self-sabotaging. It took me a long time to realize what I was doing. But one day it just clicked for me that I was self-sabotaging myself. So I think we're all guilty of it. But tell me about the me, and how you describe it in the book in ways that not only, number one, how do you recognize it, right? And then number two, how do you start to open?
One way to recognize it is, when you work for something and you work hard for it, and it is this close. It is so close. I mean, you can see it, you can feel it, you can taste it. You're right there. And then there's this unexpected fear that seeps in. Like, you worked for that. You've earned it. You are more than capable. You ready. And then this sneaky little fear creeps in as to, I'm really not that good. I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to stay here a little longer in this place and get better. Maybe it's not my time. All of that is foolishness. But it sneaks into your head to discourage you, to make you uncertain. And then what do? You do something to confirm that negativity. You do something, some action that you take will just shift you off gear. I write about it in one of the scenarios, how one lady was, she worked years for this promotion. She worked and worked and worked, and the boss told her she had the promotion. And when she heard that, foolishness crept into her mind. She got the big head. Oh, I got it. I deserve it now. Now I'm all of that, as they say, in a bag of chips. So her attitude, what did she do? She missed work, calling in sick, because they need me. I got this job. I deserve a break. Attitude with other people, now I'm Miss Big Shot, and I don't need you guys. You all are nothing, and acting this way. She set herself up. She began to slack off in her work and what she had been working for, and then she did not get the promotion. Total self-sabotage.
Wow.
Total. You had it. You were this close. The woman told you had the promotion, and yet this is what you did. It was fear. It was fear. Fear seeped in. You got the big head, and because let's not confuse. Just because you get the big head doesn't mean you're not fearful. Because you're overcompensating something now.
Right.
So it may hide itself that it's fear, and you don't realize what that is. And so you set yourself up for failure. And it's easy. It is so easy to do. But we don't have anything to fear. Just what you did when you earned the promotion is what you continue to do after you get the promotion, to see it all the way through. If it's a relationship, you really like him, he really likes you. One of the scenarios in the book talks about that, and how the lady was getting a promotion, she started treating her boyfriend, terrible. So now she's making big money. So, she's acting a certain kind of way with him, to the point that her fiance or her boyfriend breaks things off with her because she's treating him so bad. How long did you want a good man? And now that you have this good man, you drive him away. Sabotage, it occurs in every area of your life if you allow it.
It will, and I think recognizing it is really important. My self-sabotage is always with weight loss, where I will lose weight, and then I'll get to a certain weight, and then I'll get scared about maintaining that weight, right? So maybe I can't maintain whatever my goal weight is, and then my brain will say, well, then why bother?
Maintain it anyway.
You're not going to be able to maintain it anyway. You might as well go ahead and have that chocolate. So, have a brownie, right? And that is self-sabotage. But it took me a long time to catch myself doing that. Absolutely. And I know a lot of people do that. And I think weight loss is a big one for a lot of people. Yes. Relationships, too. You get into a really great relationship.
That's right.
And you don't even know how to act. So you start to push them away.
Out of fear of being hurt, out of fear that they'll leave you, out of fear of you don't deserve it.
Right.
And fear is nothing. It is not real. It is all in our mind. There's no need to fear. But fear causes so much damage. And it is just a figment of your imagination. There's nothing to that. So being able to walk yourself through that. For me, that we were saying the self-sabotage, emotions. If you're sad, it can swing you one way or the other. If you're frustrated, it can swing you one way or another when it comes to dieting. I'm frustrated, so I'm just going to eat these chips and I'm going to eat that ice cream and because I'm aggravated. So
Yes.
It happens.
Yes.
It happens. But it doesn't have to happen. The more aware you become of that self-sabotaging demon, I'm going to call it, you can fight it. You can fight it. And it would be a good idea to have someone to help hold you accountable.
Yeah, I would agree. So
it's
how many
chapters
is the book?
The odd number 13.
And so if somebody were to take this book and you think, does every chapter have a part in the workbook where you read the chapter and then you go work through some stuff in the back of the book?
Absolutely.
Is that how it works?
And I would recommend read chapter 1 and work through chapter 1. And chapter 1 is going to require a little something of you because it's going to ask a whole lot of questions, because understanding and getting reacquainted with your me is so important, and it'll help you get through the rest of the book to begin to realize that there's a part of you you've neglected for a while. So it's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things for you to think about and walk through and write down. And there's a journal attached as well, because as you begin to answer these questions I'm asking you in that workbook, it's going to bring up some emotions. And you can write those emotions down in the journal to help you understand some of how you got to where you are. Things happen to us in our past that causes us to get off track, to bend a little bit from our initial destiny. So when those emotions comes up, you can easily write in the journal to help you work that out for yourself.
I like that. So if somebody is reading the book and then they decide that they want to come to you for coaching,
Absolutely.
Are you available to do that?
They can reach out to me through mewewins@gmail.com. That's me.
And the links will be in the description. So I'll make sure that they're there, because I think that's really important. If somebody is reading your book and working the chapters and wants more, and you're a coach as well, and being available, I think that's great for you. I think it's great for them too. It's nice to be able to, there's a lot of self-help books out there, but I think a lot of the authors of the book don't necessarily offer the coaching. Right? I'll give you the book, I'll give you the blueprint, but sometimes some people learn differently. And so having a coach there to kind of help, re-emphasize or help you work things out, I think is a great way to make positive changes in your life. I have so enjoyed our conversation. I think your book sounds fantastic. Again, it is available on Amazon. It is called Me, We, Wins by Deanne Renard. The links will be there. Diane, do you have any parting words of wisdom for us before we go?
I just like to say your me is so important and so special that your we can't help but enjoy the me that is waiting to show up. And then you will see that me, we does win.
Wow. Thank you so much for being here today. I will make sure that all of her links are in the description so you can go out and get the book. You'll be able to reach her if you want coaching. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to another episode of Bright Headed Publishing Patio Book Club. I've been your host, Kelly Morgan. I'll be back next week with another episode. And until then, keep writing.